Once a woman marries, she's no longer part of the family. Family celebrations are only for family, so leave already. My sister, Amy, said this to me with a sneer, while my mother stood by, telling me to hurry up and go. I had returned to celebrate Amy's coming-of-age ceremony, hoping for some warmth, but my family treated me as an outsider. At that moment, it became painfully clear I was no longer one of them. My chest tightened, but I quickly composed myself. If that's how they feel, there's only one thing I can do: make them regret their words. My name is Sherry, I'm 22 years old, and I've grown accustomed to living on my own. It's been 4 years since I left home after graduating from vocational high school. Life hasn't been easy. I've worked hard to make ends meet. It's not luxurious, but it's the life I chose, and I take pride in supporting myself. Yet, even now, memories from the past linger like shadows. My mother and Amy's actions still weigh on me. The day before my first birthday, my father left us for another woman. My mother never forgave him. Unfortunately, I inherited his features, and because of that, my mother harbored a deep resentment toward me. You're just like him. Seeing your face makes me sick. As a child, I didn't fully understand her words, but I felt the cold stares, the disdain. To her, I was nothing more than a living reminder of her pain. In the beginning, my grandparents showed me some care, but as my mother leaned on them more and more for financial support, even they began to pull away. By the time I turned 2, my mother had remarried. Soon after, Amy was born, and my mother's new family unit was complete. Without me, I was an outsider. One day, I watched my mother, stepfather, and Amy pack their suitcases. "Where are you going?" I asked. "On vacation," my mother replied curtly. "Can I come too?" "Of course not. We'll drop you off at daycare." Their laughter echoed as they left without me. I was always left behind, sent to a 24-hour daycare while they went on family trips. Each time, I'd watch them leave with smiles on their faces, my heart sinking deeper into loneliness. At home, my mother's rejection became impossible to ignore. I was isolated, invisible to my so-called family. Once, Amy innocently asked my mother, "Why doesn't Sherry get a birthday party?" For a moment, I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe my mother cared, after all. "Celebrate her birthday?" My mother scoffed. "There's nothing to celebrate." Her words cut me to the core. From that day on, Amy's attitude shifted. She began to look down on me, mimicking our mother's disdain. During family celebrations, I was always sidelined. Amy had birthday cakes and parties, while I had nothing, not even a candle to blow out. When I entered high school, I faced yet another blow. My family refused to pay for my education. Attending vocational school and working to support myself felt like an escape. Being outside, earning my keep, was far better than staying in that house. But no matter how hard I tried, home was still the only place I had to return to. My mother never acknowledged my efforts. At 18, I made the hardest decision of my life. I left. I couldn't take it anymore. I craved freedom, a life where I wouldn't feel suffocated sharing space with my mother, stepfather, and Amy. When I finally left, they didn't show a shred of emotion. "Do whatever you want, you're not our problem anymore," my mother said coldly. Those words severed the last fragile bond one had with them. Life on my own wasn't easy. I worked tirelessly to survive, but for the first time, I felt free to live for myself. Yet, even now, at 22, I can't entirely escape their shadow. Memories of my mother and Amy linger, especially with Amy's coming-of-age ceremony approaching. My own ceremony had been non-existent, but I knew Amy's would be lavish, as everything always was for her. One day, I received an unexpected call from my mother. Hearing her voice for the first time in years made my chest tighten. "Amy's 21st birthday is next week. You're not coming, right?" she said bluntly. I was stunned. Why would she even think to call me? I wasn't invited. I managed to reply. "Good. It'd be awkward if you showed up," she said, her words cutting through me like a knife. After the call ended, a weight settled over me. I whispered to myself, of course I wouldn't go, but the suffocating ache in my chest didn't go away. I thought I had moved on, that I'd severed all ties with them, but why did they still have this hold over me? I told myself I wouldn't let them control me anymore, but the past is a stubborn thing, it refuses to let go. Yet, amidst the pain, I felt a faint desire to confront it, to confront them. Especially Amy. Despite everything, I wanted to celebrate her milestone, so I bought a cake and a gift and decided to visit my family for the first time in years. Standing in front of the familiar door, my heart pounded. It had been so long, and I was terrified of what awaited me. When I rang the doorbell, Amy answered. Her voice was sharp and mocking. "Who's there?" "Amy, it's me," I said cautiously. "Stop joking. I brought a cake. Please, open the door." After a moment of silence, the door swung open. Without a word, Amy snatched the cake box from my hands and, to my shock, threw it back at me. The box hit the ground, the cake splattering across the floor. "What are you doing?" I asked, my voice trembling. "I can't eat food from a stranger," she sneered. Stranger. The word struck me harder than I expected. Deep down, I had hoped that despite everything, she still saw me as her sister, but hearing her call me a stranger made something inside me break. As I stood frozen, my mother appeared, laughing alongside Amy. "What were you thinking, coming here?" she said, her voice dripping with scorn. "Did you come to ruin things?" Her words stung, and I felt a wave of regret wash over me. "Why is she even here?" My stepfather's voice called out from the living room. "She's not family anymore." My voice trembled as I asked, "Am I not family?" "Why?" My mother scoffed. "Of course you're not family. We're not even related." Amy laughed, her voice cruel. "Did you really think you were one of us?" Their words crushed me. I had always known I didn't belong, but hearing it said so plainly tore me apart. "Clean up that mess before you leave," my mother barked, gesturing to the ruined cake. Numbly, I obeyed. As I cleaned, Amy and my mother laughed mockingly behind me. "She brought the cake and now she's cleaning it up herself," Amy said. Pathetic. Their laughter echoed in my ears, but I focused on finishing as quickly as possible. When I was done, I turned silently to leave. "Leaving already? Should have never come, huh?" Amy taunted. I didn't respond. As I stepped out the door, Amy called out one last time. "Don't come back, stranger." Her words echoed in my mind as the door slammed shut behind me, sealing the final chapter of our relationship. I realized I had been clinging to a false hope that something might change, that somehow, they might see me differently, but I was wrong. I was nothing more than a stranger to them, and maybe I always had been. It was time to stop wasting my energy trying to find a place in their lives. I already had a place where I truly belonged. That place was with my husband, Don. I met Don through a mutual friend, and from the moment he came into my life, everything changed. I had never thought I would get married. I didn't believe I deserved a family of my own, but Don saw me for who I was, accepted me completely, and never judged my complicated family history. When I shared my painful memories with him, he simply listened. "You didn't get to choose your family," he said gently, "but none of that is your fault. The family we create together will be your true home." His words warmed my heart, and for the first time, I felt like I truly belonged somewhere. With Don, I learned what happiness was. Our life together became my anchor, irreplaceable and full of love. But I had never told my family about him. I didn't want to invite their negativity into our lives. Still, news of my marriage somehow reached them. 3 days after the incident with the cake, my mother called unexpectedly. "I heard you got married. Why didn't you tell us something so important?" Her tone was accusatory, but I remained calm. "I didn't think it was necessary to tell you," I replied. There was a long silence on the other end. "Fine, do whatever you want," she said at last. "You'll end up alone anyway." This time, her words didn't hurt me. I had expected them. Instead, I felt reassured, knowing how happy I was with my new life. I wasn't alone, I had Dawn, and together we were building a family rooted in love and mutual respect. Her bitter remark was meaningless. It couldn't change my happiness. That phone call marked the final break between us. Or so I thought. 3 days later, the doorbell rang unexpectedly. When I opened the door, I was stunned to see Amy standing there. How had she found my address? Still, I invited her in. "What are you doing here?" I asked, my guard immediately up. "I just wanted to see what kind of guy you married," she said with a playful tone that put me on edge. As soon as she entered the living room, her eyes locked on Don. "This is your husband? Not bad at all. How did someone like you snag him?" I clenched my fists, anger simmering, but I stayed silent. Don, however, remained composed. "I'm Sherry's husband. Please stop with the unnecessary remarks," he said calmly. Amy looked surprised by his directness, but quickly recovered. She stepped closer to Don, her smile turning sickly sweet. "Don't be so stiff. Let's have some fun. Sherry won't mind, will she?" I was shocked by her audacity, but Don didn't waver. "I'm not interested. My happiness is with my wife," he said firmly. "Please stop this behavior." A wave of gratitude washed over me for Don's unwavering loyalty. Amy shrugged, her smile fading into a cold smirk. "Whatever. I don't care about your happiness anyway." she said with a dismissive tone. Her feigned indifference made my next steps clear. You don't need people like her in your life, Sherry, Dawn said softly after she left. For your sake, and ours, it's best to cut ties. His words mirrored my own thoughts. Amy and the rest of my family had no place in the life I was building anymore. It was time to let go. That visit was a turning point. For years, I had been sending money to my family. I had paid for Amy's tuition and even helped with the mortgage on their home, all in the hope that they might someday accept me as part of the family. But after Amy's visit, I realized I owed them nothing. They had taken all I had to give and returned only scorn. Now, I chose to give my energy, my love, and my support to the family I was creating with Dawn, a family built on kindness, respect, and unconditional love. It was time to stop looking back and start living fully in the present. I decided it was time to stop the financial support. When I told Dawn, he gave me a warm smile and nodded. That's the right choice, Sherry, you've done more than enough. Now it's time to focus on yourself. His words lifted a weight I hadn't realized I was still carrying. Cutting off the money felt like reclaiming my freedom. I filed the necessary paperwork and halted the payments. For the first time, I felt a deep sense of relief. But peace didn't last long. A month later, my routine was shattered by loud, angry banging on the door. When I opened it, my mother and Amy stood there, their faces twisted in fury. Why didn't the tuition payment go through? The landlord is threatening eviction, my mother spat, her tone accusatory. Their outrage didn't surprise me. I had been expecting this confrontation. Taking a deep breath, I responded calmly. I stopped the payments because I'm no longer responsible for you. Their expressions shifted from anger to shock. What do you mean you stopped the payments? Amy demanded. I even sold the house to recover what I already paid, I added, my voice steady. What? My mother's voice rose. You sold the house? How could you? You made it clear I'm not part of your family, I said, meeting their glares head-on, so I have no obligation to support you. But what about my tuition? Amy cried. I can't finish school without it. That's your responsibility now, not mine, I replied firmly. I won't fund a family that doesn't include me. You can't do this. After everything I've done for you, my mother began. Done for me? I interrupted, my voice rising for the first time. You mean the years of neglect and cruelty? I owe you nothing. My decision is final. They tried to argue, their anger quickly turning to desperation, but I stood firm. You'll regret this, Amy yelled as they left. You're the worst sister ever. But their words no longer held any power over me. For the first time, I felt truly free from their grasp. A week later, their harassment escalated. They showed up outside my home daily, shouting and causing scenes. They even contacted Dawn's parents in an attempt to shame me. While my in-laws were understanding, they grew concerned. They've crossed the line, Dawn said one evening. You need to take action before it gets worse. At first, I hesitated, but I knew he was right. I gathered evidence from our security cameras and filed a police report. Initially, the authorities treated it as a family dispute and were slow to act, but I persisted. Finally, after another disruptive incident, the police intervened. My mother and Amy were warned to stay away, but they ignored the warnings. Their behavior escalated until the police had no choice but to issue formal restraining orders. Even my neighbors, fed up with the constant commotion, supported my case. Some suggested I move to escape the chaos. Don agreed. Let's start fresh somewhere new, he said. I couldn't have agreed more. Quietly, we found a new home and relocated. Even after the move, my mother and Amy tried to track us down. They even showed up at Dawn's parents' house, but my father-in-law firmly shut them down. Sherry is part of our family now, he said. If you have issues, they're your responsibility, not hers. Amy tried pleading with my mother-in-law for help, but she was equally resolute. You made your bed, now lie in it. Eventually, their efforts failed, and they stopped trying. For the first time in years, I felt free. The harassment had drained me emotionally, but once it ended, life became peaceful again. Dawn and I settled into our new home and focused on building a future together. My in-laws treated me like their own daughter, offering me the warmth and acceptance I had always longed for. Sherry, your family, they told me one evening, whatever happens, we'll always be here for you. Their words gave me a sense of security I had never known. Meanwhile, my mother and stepfather's fragile relationship fell apart without my financial support. Eventually, they divorced, and my mother lived a quiet, isolated life. Amy, too, faced the consequences of her actions. A potential marriage fell through when her fiancé learned about her family background and past behavior. Left to fend for herself, Amy struggled to rebuild her life. Despite everything, I couldn't bring myself to pity them. Their actions had led them to this place. In contrast, my life with Dawn flourished. We grew closer with each shared experience, facing challenges and celebrating successes together. We've been through so much, but look at where we are now, Dawn said one evening as we relaxed in our cozy living room. He took my hand and looked into my eyes. Let's focus on our future. I want to make you as happy as you make me. His sincerity brought tears to my eyes. For the first time, I felt like I belonged somewhere, with someone who truly cared for me. The shadows of my past no longer loomed over me. Dawn and his family became the family I had always longed for. Their love and support healed wounds I once thought would never mend. Family isn't just about blood, Dawn's father had once told me. It's about the bonds you choose to nurture. Those words stayed with me. Looking back, I saw my struggles with my mother and Amy as a painful but necessary part of my journey. They had taught me resilience and the value of true family. As Dawn and I moved forward, I knew I had finally found my home, a place filled with love, stability, and a future worth cherishing.